Hello and welcome. This is Mousegunner, and I'm going to be taking a look at another game that is currently on sale during the Steam Summer Sale. And the game in question, Domina, is a bit of an exception when compared to the other games I've done in this series so far, where I purchased them during the Steam Summer Sale. This game I received a copy of for free from the developer, so just keep that in mind as we come forward. And this is kind of a crossover with my normal First Impression series, where normally I'm taking a look at games that I receive from developers. But this game does happen to be on sale during the Steam Summer Sale, so I am going to include it as part of this series. With that being said, I did do a stream of this game earlier before doing this recording, so I do have about 2 hours played in the game so far. So I have a little bit of experience with it, but this is still very much a first impression of the game. There are, I'm for sure, things that I maybe don't understand. But with that being said, let's just jump right into Domina and see what it's all about. And really, this game summed up and its barest essentials is a gladiator management sim, or a gladiator team management sim. And we're going to be starting a new game and jumping right in. Alright, so we have a bit of story here. The sun is setting on the once mighty Roman Empire. A violent rebellion erupts in the far territories, while political corruption erodes the empire closer to home. Fearing that the citizens will revolt and attempt to reestablish the Republic, the Emperor has decreed that there shall be a year of epic gladiatorial games culminating in the greatest championship the Empire has ever seen. Affording unimaginable rewards of coin and glory, the Emperor hopes to revitalize commerce and establish the rule of law once again. But Rome is disintegrating in his clenched fist. The next local games are scheduled soon, and you aim to win. Now, one thing I will point out, there is some rather rough language in this game, and you do have an option to turn it off, and that is an option that I have chosen because I feel like the language doesn't really add anything to the game. Mostly you just have the crowd shout just obscenities at random points during a match, and it just vulgarity for vulgarity's sake as far as I'm concerned. It doesn't really necessarily bother me one way or the other, but I'm not going to really have it in the course of this video, especially as I said, I feel like there's not really a point to the vulgarity in the game. Now, I do have a choice here to proceed with the tutorial or just, I guess, not. And honestly, I don't know if I've ever completed the tutorial, so I'll go ahead and proceed with the tutorial. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do, really, okay. We still have more story stuff to go over, but there is kind of an RTS element to this game where time progresses and you really can't sit around not doing things. But in any case, let's go ahead and go through the story some more. As the heiress to a once mighty ludus, which is more or less a gladiator team, in the heart of the Roman countryside, you see an opportunity to ride this wave of revitalized interest and bloodshed to the ends of the empire, to burn out a fabulous spectacle of violence and greed. Having driven your family's ludus into the ground with poor business decisions and lack of integrity, your father bequeaths to you ownership of the ludus and its paltry holdings. On the dusty road home to assume the mantle of Lanista and Domina, a woman looks at you knowingly and proclaims they'll never let you win. You try to put the old woman's icy stare out of your mind as your family begrudgingly surveys their new home and your father slowly fades towards his inevitable death. And this is the character we're playing as right here. Alright, as I was saying, we need to click on our gladiators very quickly because we only have a certain number of days before our first fight, and we need to make sure that we're ready for that. So, the first thing we can choose here is our training balance. Now, there is one stat that is missing from this training balance, and that is our AI skill. Until we get a actual trainer who's going to show up as a part of the story, we can't train this stat. But we can train the other things, and I'm just going to more or less leave them as they are. I don't know why a couple of the bars don't show up. Honestly, there is a little bit of issues with this game. Even getting it recording with the recording software I use is a little bit of a hassle. And when I tried to play this game in full screen mode, the game just absolutely freaked out on me. So I'm playing it in windowed mode. And I think that there may be some rough graphical issues because we see bars here on these sliders and they're missing here. So I don't really know why that's the case, but that's the case. All right, so we can, just move these around as we want. So if we wanted to make strength, defense, weapon, or agility a focus, we could bring that slider one way or the other. We hit the train button to start him training. We're not going to do that though, because that would pop us out of this menu and time would start. So there's other things that we can do here. First off, I want to take a survey of all of our gladiators. I have a suspicion that this guy, Maximus of Hispania, is our top guy, but we'll take a look at the other men that we have. So right now we have a guy that's a baseline. He has not been chosen for a particular class. Right now the only one that we have open is the Thrax. I'm sure I'm pronouncing some of this stuff wrong, but that is the current one that we have. And this is just a basic sword and board style fighter. I've never actually progressed to the point that you could unlock the other two, but there's a tech tree involved in this game, or tech trees I should say, and that is one of the ways that you can unlock these. And it does say right here, you must have an active Doctor and Murmilla training unlocked. So those are the things you need to do to get one of these guys. And then for a Rotarius, we need, again, a Doctor and a Rotarius training unlocked. So we have a couple different things we need to do to be able to get that. But we can go ahead and just select that, and then he will be ready to be trained as a Thrax. Now, right now, he's not equipped with anything. He has no weapons, no armor, no nothing. So we can set up his training balance, though, if we want. And then finally, we have one more guy here who may be the better equipped of our men. No, I'd say he's slightly worse. Yeah, he's slightly worse as far as his equipment. So usually you'll have two men that have some level of equipment, and most of the rest of the men that you get, whether purchasing slaves, getting men from victories, you can get slaves as a reward for victories. Most of the time, they won't come with anything, or they'll come with a very baseline of gear. So you have a couple guys that will start with stuff. So let's take a look at what we have. We'll start with this guy because he's the better equipped. And how you can equip your men. So usually you're going to have a weapon, and then you're going to have various armor slots. So usually speaking, you'll have just one weapon, and you can upgrade this to your heart's content. So if we see, we can downgrade by clicking the left mouse button, and we go down to the basic Puja, which is the lowest level of weapon. Now, as far as the levels of weapon go, you really just have to kind of memorize the names, because they don't really give you an idea of, okay, this is level 1, this is level 2, this is level 3, and so on. But the second level weapon for this class is a wooden gladius. So if we right click, we'll upgrade to just an actual gladius rather than a wooden one. And then if we right-click again, we'll move up to the next class of weapon. And that's as high as we can go for right now, as far as I understand. There might be an ability to go further than this, but where we are right now, where we have things unlocked as far as our tech tree, this is as far as we can go for our weapon. The same thing is going to be true for our armor. So you can left-click to downgrade, right-click to upgrade. Left-click, you get some gold back. It's never going to be the amount that I think you originally invested. Right-click, you go up a level. Now, as far as I'm concerned with this armor, at least as far as the shoulder armor, we're as high of a level as I'd like to go, because the next level up is 60 gold just by itself. And we're pretty good on chest armor, too. Head armor is okay. We're pretty good on our skirt, for lack of a better term. Shield's pretty good. I did select a little bit of an easier difficulty than I did in the stream, because I noticed that this game is rather difficult, and just where I'm at, I like to have a little bit more fun with games and not have them be as grindy as seemingly it was at the higher difficulties. We'll see the difference, and it looks like maybe I have a little bit better starting equipment than I normally would have. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and upgrade the Greaves, because this isn't that expensive to go up to the next level. It's only 5 gold. So go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that. Now, one thing I do have to keep in mind is the difference in weight. So the one that we have right now is 3 kilograms. The previous one we had was 2 kilograms. And if we upgrade again, we'll go up to 5 kilograms. So we have to consider the overall weight of our man here. So for instance, right now, the armor that we're wearing is 14 kilograms. If I upgrade to the next level, it's only 3 kilograms. So that's actually not only a defensive buff, but it's also a weight buff in a way, because we are not going to be nearly as heavy. So our man's going to be a little bit more nimble. Sometimes the weight will go up, sometimes it will go down. So for example, the helmet here, if we went up to the next level, it'd be a heavier helmet than we currently have. All right, so I'm actually really tempted to go up a level to Jupiter's Mail because of the weight difference. But the armor level that we have right now is pretty damn good. And I'm pretty happy with it because we have other things that we might need to spend gold on. So let's just go ahead with this for now. And I'm going to close this up because we've already seen this element. So the next thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to train my men. And to do that, I just right-click. I can also do in that menu is another way that we can train them. We also have a marketplace. Now, there's some things we haven't unlocked yet because we just haven't progressed to that point in the story at this point. But we can buy food, we can buy water, and we can buy wine. We'll see exactly what a lot of these do a little bit later, but I'm going to go ahead and buy some water. And that's probably good. Eventually, we will be able to hire employees, but we haven't yet gotten to that point yet. And I don't actually know at what point you hire the employees because it doesn't really mention it in the game. I will point out, I'm playing the tutorial mode. Have you seen much in the way of a tutorial? Not really. As a matter of fact, the game doesn't even tell you, hey, by the way, days are counting down. Notice that it's now 2 days as opposed to 3 days. You should get training. It doesn't really tell you these things. And to train, I'm just going to have to continue to rapidly make sure I'm always right-clicking on these guys and make sure that we keep them active. A large man with a whip has presented himself at your villa and requests your ear. I see that there are games scheduled in a few days and have heard that you plan to attend. I've served your father for many years, but when he fell ill and the ludus returned to ruin, I had to find my daily bread elsewhere. I would be honored to return to the ludus and train your men for this battle. Without me, these men will be slow and stupid lambs to the slaughter. All right, we have a couple things we have to do really quickly now because we don't have a lot of time. So now we have unlocked, because we have our trainer, the meditate skill, which is going to improve our AI skill. Actually, I guess it's meditate training. This is a very important skill. Probably the most important out of all of or ability, out of all of the stats that you have. So I'm going to go ahead and max that up. And we're going to do that with all of our men. Now, you might be wondering, why am I not equipping this guy? Well, that's because the first few fights that we're going to have at the very minimum are only going to be one fighter. At least that's what I've seen so far. So there's no real reason to spend too much of our money equipping a man that's not going to be fighting. Right now, I'm doing a little bit of putting all my eggs in one basket and hoping that that doesn't lead us to ruin. Okay, so now that we've done that, we have to very quickly come over here before our next battle, and this is our tech tree. So there's a couple things we can do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check Enable Automatic Gladiator Training, and we can see here, when I enabled Doctor, oh, okay, I guess that's the Doctor right there, will automatically train gladiators depending on the emphasis chosen in the gladiator information screen. So that whole thing where I was right-clicking all over the screen, that's one way you can do it. That might have been the way that the game was when it first launched, but now you have an auto train feature, so he will have them train whenever they're free. And this makes it so you don't have to frantically right-click around the screen. But we also have a tech tree here. And starting off, we only have really one choice, humility. Gladiator can surrender at any time during battle, potentially saving his life. So we see a time frame, 2, I'm assuming that's days, and we see a coin cost, 1. And you'll see most of the things, most of the tech tree elements, that's what they're going to cost. They're going to cost an amount of gold and an amount of time to get. And there is an actual tree element to this, so we have to unlock humility to move on to these other things, which we can see very faint lines here kind of indicating. Let's go ahead and train that up. And the day has gone, and that was very quick. I mean, I was going around, clicking on stuff, making sure we were being active, but it didn't take much time for this fight to pop up. And in my opinion, the first fight in particular is extremely important because the rewards are very high at this stage. You got 450 gold, you've got 20 wine, and 3 slaves. That's what the little muscle meant. And this is very much a game that you learn by doing. The game doesn't really explain how it works. And my first few playthroughs didn't last long before I got into a really bad situation because I hadn't understood certain mechanics. So now we get to pick our gladiators. And this is a 1 versus 1 fight, and it does sort us by how valuable our men are. So usually it's doing an evaluation of not only the equipment that the man is carrying, but also his skill. Right now, most of our men are at a very low level as far as their skills. They have no AI skill, and they're very low level everywhere else. So we're going to go ahead and select our best man, Maximus, here. So we only had 1 of 1 allowed, And we do have surrender available, although I don't know if we unlocked it necessarily in the tech tree. I think you actually have to have that unlocked in the tech tree to be able to do it. Okay, at this point we can accept the terms. Later on we'll be able to reject terms if we want to, although it will make the person that is putting up, in this case the magistrate, unhappy if you reject their terms. Now we can see our opponent and what they're like. So just going through them very quickly, we see they have a basic Pugia, and we already know that that is the lowest level weapon besides just bare hands that you can have. So we should have an advantage there. We see their agility level and attack level. Well, that's equal to ours, so we have no disadvantage there. We can see the damage that they are going to produce. So 17 versus our 45. So we're quite a bit advantaged as far as that goes. Now, where we start to be at a disadvantage is their defense level is at 8. Now, I think our armor is better, though. As we can see, his helm is going to absorb 8. His armor overall, which I think is a calculation of all of his armor, is going to absorb 9, and then his defense is going to absorb 25. That might I'm actually not sure whether armor and defense exactly where that comes from. I assume that defense is your shield, but I actually might be wrong on that. But in any case, if we see here, we're better in every category. So although he has a higher defense stat than we do, our helm is better than his. Our armor is better than his, and our defense is better than his. So that's in our favor. His AI skill is at 3, ours is at 0, so unfortunately we're not favored there. And then we have other stats besides. We've got aggro, turtle, and evasive. Now this, I believe, is just the attitude of the fighter in question. So aggro is how aggressive is he going to be? How often is he going to be attacking? Turtle, how defensive is he going to be? And evasive is how often is he going to be dodging? So we can kind of see some attributes there. So it seems like our opponent's going to be dodging quite a lot. All right, let's go ahead and get into the first match. Now, I have no control over this. My fighter does what he thinks is best based off of his skills, AI being one of them. All right, so we're already doing pretty heavy damage here compared to his damage to us. Some of that is the armor difference, so we were able to absorb a lot of that damage. And we just murdered him pretty much immediately. So what did we get? We get our 450 crowns, we get our 20 wine, and then we get our 3 slaves, which are... Ooh, we actually got a special slave here, a Rotarius. I have never actually had one of these before because normally I cannot get them. I wonder if that's the easier difficulty, kind of making things better or easier for me. So there we go. We get 3 slaves. Now 2 of them are unarmed, but one of them is classed and armed. So there we go. That's it. So just like before, we're going to immediately have time progress. And we only have 3 days until the next battle. So we have to get right back onto track. So this guy, we've already told him how we want him to train. So we'll just go ahead and move on. This guy is kind of our backup guy for now. I may upgrade him, may not. This is our top guy for the moment, but he did take a little damage, so we have to heal him. Now, while he's healing, he cannot train. So that is a little bit of an issue, but he didn't take that much damage, so it shouldn't take that long for him to heal. We have our new man here, and I have no familiarity with a Rotarius at all, but it looks like we have an Iron Spear, which is the base level as far as his weapons go, and we have a net. Now, I cannot upgrade the net, it appears. So that's going to be what it is. He also can apparently hold a shield, which I didn't necessarily expect. And... ooh, he can only have shoulder armor on one side. So that's kind of a... yeah, okay, so he only has armor on his one side. The other side is unarmored. Okay, and I think that is kind of going with the tradition of how a Rotarius works. So let's go ahead and right-click to upgrade to a wooden trident, and then, of course, a basic trident. And then we're going to go ahead and upgrade some of his armor. So right now he just has a little bit of a hood. We're going to upgrade that to a basic tin helmet, and... I mean, we kind of have like a baseline of gear here. Sure, we'll give him a canvas sack. Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not really ready, I think, for him to necessarily be fighting. But at least gets him ready to go if we need him. Okay, so there are some things here we can do, too. We can reward people with wine or coinage. And we can put them to death, grant them freedom, and so on. Our previous man did a good job, so I'll give him a few coins to say, good job, man. And that made him happy, as we see here, with his temperament. We rewarded him for his nice victory, and we're also going to reward him with some better gear. So I think I'm going to go ahead and give him the upgraded chest plate here, which is going to reduce his overall weight, making him fleeter of foot, but also giving him better defense. But then I could counter that with a little bit heavier helm, perhaps. And you know, I give him this helm, but I can immediately go on to the same night helm, which is going to go up to actually go down to 1 kilogram. So that's kind of pretty good for us. And this is kind of a step up as far as weight goes. Eventually, we're going to get to a point where this is, I think, going to start going down in weight as well, because we've got 25 kilograms for the next shield, and we're at 14, so that's a big step up. But I think we may be able to step back down if we upgrade this enough. So I'm going to go that. Yeah, see, we go back down to 18 kilograms if we go to the next one. So robust thorax shield for 58. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. I don't think we need much better armor there. Ooh, Commander's Mail goes up quite a lot. Alright, I think we've spent enough on him for now, although I'm half tempted to go up a level with the Greaves, because that's not a lot of gold for that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so he's nice and up-armored. We're not going to be able to get any more damage with him, unfortunately, because that's as good as we can do. But we're continuing on with the putting all of our eggs in one basket, at least in this early stage. Okay, we have to choose our class for our other men. I don't have to necessarily choose, but at this point, I think I might as well, because we're going to continue to get men as long as we continue to get victories. And even on the harder difficulties, it's not that hard to win your first few matches. The problem is when you lose, and if you put all your eggs in one basket like I have, you lose your top man, he dies. Because one thing I will point out, if we go back to this man, by winning, he gains skill just for surviving that match. So that's another strategy you can do. You can sub guys in and out, and you can try and get your men to an overall higher level, because there will be eventually points where you're going to have more men involved. So might be a good idea to get them ready. Okay, so that's going to be all of our new men. So do we want to go with that? Do we want to go with that idea of getting other men to an equal level of our top man so that we don't have as devastating of a loss if we do lose? Well, I'm going to at least bring this guy up to a gladius. He's got a decent shield. He's okay as far as armor goes. We could go up a level here, in my opinion, pretty easily. The skirt's only going to cost me 20. Chest armor is going to cost only 15, though. And the pauldrons are extremely cheap until you get up to the bronze level. Once you get up to the bronze level, then you have the magical ones, which are very expensive. And I think I'll go up a level with my chest armor, perhaps. All right, so we've upgraded this guy, maybe not to the same level we had upgraded the other man, but we've upgraded him to a point where he'll probably be better than whoever we're going to be fighting. All right, let's go ahead and close this on up. And we're going to go back over. Okay, we haven't met any of the magistrates or anything. Here we go. An old man enters your villa uninvited. He appears to be a high-placed government official. He introduces himself. I am the magistrate. I was impressed with your showing in my games yesterday. Your prowess as a lanista is evident, though you may be lacking in experience. Your father was a good man, and I'm sorry to see his business and health failing. If you're in search of new slaves to turn into gladiators, I can provide you with agreeable stock. The smell of wine on this dusty. Okay, they didn't censor this. The smell of wine on this dusty old fox breath is off-putting. So mostly they're just censoring the crowd with that option. All right. So what can we do with the magistrate? Well, we can buy slaves from him. We can bribe him by sending him wine, which is going to improve his temperament. We can arrange an exhibition match. This I haven't done, so an exhibition of your wares for the magistrate and his friends will surely increase their favor. I'm not exactly sure how that works, and suggest gladiator patronage. As a patron, the magistrate will assume all day-to-day costs of his chosen gladiator. That I haven't really messed with either. But for now, we're going to go ahead and close that out. Now, I still have not gotten the option to hire any employees. So for now, I'm just going to buy a little bit more water and a little bit more food just so we stay on top of that. And you're still researching and everybody else is training as we have them auto-trained. So we can kind of relax. Okay, now we just got our tech tree. So what do we want to do next? Well, if we do nimble stance, gladiators always run and require less stamina to do so. So our gladiators are a little bit more fleet of foot. Or we can go with aimed attack. Gladiator can attack the opponent left or right side when facing up or down, or high or low when facing sideways. So this gives them more options. And then finally we have mind control, which is going to allow you to directly control one of your gladiators. Now personally, I think this is against the whole management side of this game, but if you want to have more direct hand, normally speaking, you get involved, the fights happen, you just sit back and watch. I personally prefer that style because that's just, I think, the way the game is supposed to be played. But if you want to get involved, you can get involved. I'm going to go ahead with the nimble stance just because it's a little bit quicker to research. Now, it doesn't lead into anything, though, so this is going to be a dead-end research. All right, so we're going to be right into our next fight without anything being able to be changed. Okay, so what do we have here? We've got a guy. He's got a basic puja. His level, though, is at 434. And he does have no AI skill, though, so we might have an advantage against this guy. So let's pick our gladiator. So our next top guy is going to be 91, and then the guy below him is going to be 89. So if we take a look at this man, he's 332, so he's at a little bit of a disadvantage as far as the overall skills, but his equipment should be better. So let's go ahead and select him. We could pick our top man, do that whole eggs in one basket thing, and just assume that with his better gear and his better skill level at this point, he would easily win, and I'm pretty sure he would. But let's take a look now at our comparison. So his helm's only at 5, ours at 9, so we're almost double him there. Our armor's at 10, his is at 4, so we're definitely more than double there. He's got 23 absorption versus our 29. Now we don't have a high level weapon, so we're only going to be doing 37 damage this time, but he's going to be doing 20, so we have quite a bit of an advantage there. The only real thing that I'd say here is he has a slight advantage in some of his skills, mostly agility and defense, but I think we can take him. So let's go ahead and accept the terms. Our rewards are still high, and we have a new host, a legate. So we haven't met him yet, but we will meet him soon. So let's go ahead and accept the terms. Okay, here we go. Okay, we are winning slightly, but it is a lot closer than our previous time. So our guy took a lot more damage than our first fight, and it did make me somewhat nervous, to be honest with you. Okay, we got another Retaria, so yeah, that seems to be kind of the norm. Okay, so that did work out in some regards, though, because it allowed us to have another man as a backup to our top man. Maybe not as highly equipped, but he's getting there. All right. So now we have some more management to do, and this is kind of the process. So you've got a few days until the next battle, and we can go through and manage our men. So let's go through. This is the Retarius we had from before. Oh no, this isn't. Is it? It seems like the same guy we had before. Maybe I just forgot to set up his training, so we'll do that. And I'm going to think about possibly upgrading him a little bit more. So we've got a halberd axe as a possible upgrade. Okay. And we will upgrade. His helmet is quite a bit of a weight gain there. This is like almost no cost. Neither is this. And this. I mean, as long as I can do these upgrades for super cheap, I figure do them. Okay, so that's kind of the first point where we're getting a little bit too expensive. Okay, tin pauldron, like very minimal cost to do this. And then we've got the bronze one, which again, minimal cost, and then we're back up to that. So it seems like some of the armor you kind of see over and over again. It seems like the skirt is the one thing that you have the most expense in. Okay, so we are going to continue here with some upgrades. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with that. We'll get another level shield here. Go up in helm. Fairly cheap. Okay. So there is our Rotarius equipped. We could give him a better spear here. So Partisan. Okay. We have yet another level. Okay, I'll take it. I'm not going to go quite that high, but there we go. We've upgraded this guy pretty significantly, so now we have a third man if we want. All right, let's go through and do the other men that need to be told what to train. So we've got this guy. I'm not going to bother upgrading him for now. We'll just do about that. We need to get another class selection here. There we go. Class selection. There we go. And that should be it. Let's go over to our man that won the fight, which should be this man. Make sure we heal him, and we'll reward him a couple coins for his good job. He didn't do quite as good of a job as the previous man, so he only got a couple coins, but there you go. It made him happy, so I'm happy. Okay, so now we're going to have the legate. A heavily armed soldier barges into your ludus unannounced. His armor is adorned with very fine detail, and you gather that he is an important person by the way he strikes fear into your slaves. I am the legate, commander of the military detachment stationed nearby. I was impressed with your showing in my games yesterday, but if you want to win more bouts in the arena, you need better trained warriors, and I have many to spare. My warriors may not be as agreeable and cheap as the magistrate's useless wares, but at least they know how to wield the sword. The man demands wine as he reclines on your balcony. So, more or less, you have two competing men here. And when I say competing, they are definitely competing. They have opposing interests. So, you might want to please them both, but because of that, them being diametrically opposed to each other, it's going to be hard to please them both. But you obviously don't want to piss these guys off either, because they're the ones oftentimes hosting the matches. I don't really know what happens if you get too much into the negatives with these guys, but I would assume negative things for sure, because these are powerful officials. We can purchase gladiators. These guys are going to be a little bit more skilled and well armed than the slaves that we get from the magistrate, but they're going to be more expensive, as he kind of indicated. We also have the same gladiator patronage, and we can arrange an exhibition match. Now, I don't know. Yeah, finally we have hire employees. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So we have a number of employees that we can hire, and these guys are going to consume resources and give you abilities. So we've got the agent, which is going to be able to do dirty work. We've got a medicus, which is going to be able to heal people. I'm going to go ahead and hire him. We have an architect, which can build things, I guess. You have a Faber, which I assume to be a blacksmith. A Faber automatically repairs damaged equipment and makes upgrades cheaper. I'm going to hire him as well. We have an educator, who is an educator, helps turn your gladiators into self-actualized men that function at a peak performance at all times. So you kind of get the idea, and you can see what kind of resources you need. So food and 2 water a day to maintain these guys. And moving on, we've got this guy. Reduces costs on upgrades and resources. A skilled negotiator and merchant. He can buy everything cheaper and influence the legate's favor. And we have somebody that can sacrifice goats to the gods for us, and so on. You have this guy here, which you consume water to get food. That's pretty much what he does. So we'll hire him too. Why not? But you've got a whole bunch of different other people that you can hire. A bard, which is going to help morale. You've got this holy man who's going to do all kinds of things for you. He doesn't consume anything, but he provides a bunch of other things. As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and just hire him. That seems like a good hire, as he doesn't consumes nothing. So we'll hire him. And I'll hire the agricultor as well for some food. All right, so that's a lot of hiring we've just done. Let's go ahead and close, and close, and close, And we see that they're all over here. So what do the different men do? Well, first off, auto healing. That sounds like a good idea. But we also have tech trees. Everybody's got a tech tree. So we can, for instance, research hand washing, and this is going to increase treatment speed. Most of what he has to do is going to increase treatment speed. That's more or less all it does. So hand washing, we'll get him on that. This guy over here, same thing. So we can do different prayers. Now it looks like these prayers are fairly expensive as far as resources go. I mean, food and water, yes. But let's say we go through this. So prayer to Neptune, consume 1 water and provide 1 wine per day. Okay. So these are just various things that he's going to do for us. Occasionally upgrades a gladiator's defensive training. Okay, well that sounds good. And I'm guessing that if we don't do this, he's not really going to do much for us. We can do prayer to Apollo, occasionally upgrade a gladiator's strength. Prayer to Mars, unify your gladiator's mind and body for faster reactions when fighting under AI control. Well, that sounds really good, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then finally we have our Faber. Well, I want to do auto repair. But I also want an automatic upgrade. When the Faber has a spare moment, he will automatically upgrade a random piece of equipment on a random gladiator free of cost. There's a number of things that he does. He also has blueprints. With blueprints, the Faber can make upgrading your gladiator's helmets cheaper. And the same thing with weapon and armor. And then we have improved furnace. With better tools, repair speed is increased. Improved anvil. Better tools, repair speed is increased. So same kind of thing. Shield blueprints, so same as these. And then rebuild nets. Automatically mount new nets on Rotarius who have lost one in battle at no cost. Well, that seems pretty good too. So we have a lot of good things here, but of course, automatic upgrade sounds like the awesomest thing here. So we're going to go ahead and select that, and he's going to start training. And then, of course, we've got our food and wine and water that we may want to purchase. So I'm going to go ahead and buy some food, and I'll buy some water to kind of keep that topped off. And more or less, we're ready for our next fight. And we just researched something else. So I'm going to go straight into aimed attack because that's the only thing that, that we can research that isn't mind control, which I don't want to research. So we'll go right into that. And he's done learning the prayer of Mars, so he's going to start helping out with that. And we can also do other prayers here. I think we're going to maybe hold off on him unless we have something that's really cheap. Healing of gladiators happens automatically under the watchful gaze of Venus, or prayer of Vulcan. Occasionally upgrade gladiator agility. So we can just more or less choose a particular stat that we want to be upgraded. Or we can help heal. I think we go with prayer to Juno, defense. It seems fairly cheap overall, and that seems pretty good. So we'll go with that. Alright, so we've got another fight here, and this is going to be a Rotarius against us, which, as I said, I'm not that familiar with Rotarius. I have no real experience with him, but this guy's tougher now. He's got 4 agility, 2 attack, 11 defense. That's pretty high. But his gear is going to be a little bit on the low end because he's got an iron spear, which we've already seen is the lowest level it can be. So let's take a look at our men now. Now, this guy might be an even match. We have to keep in mind that there's going to be a defense advantage to our opponent. But we can see coinage 105, 116. Now, the reason that this guy's worth more, although his gear is not worth more, his levels are worth more because he has that advantage because he was in a combat. Look at his AI skill. It's up to 10. This guy has 0. So that's kind of the advantage of getting guys in fights too. Because although, as I said, this guy here, the Rotarius, he is the better armed man. He is not as good as this guy. Let's say we pick him for now and just compare the two. So right now, agility 4, agility 4, so even. Attack 2, attack 3, advantage. Damage 74, that's a lot, versus 23. Defense 11 versus R2, so advantage this guy. His helm is going to absorb 8 versus R10. His armor is going to absorb 8 versus R10. His overall defense is going to be 23 versus R23. So we're very equal there. So it's damage versus defense. Well, I mean, frankly, we're even there. He has a lot of AI skill, though, so he is going to be advantaged as far as that's concerned. I personally am a little bit worried about this fight, so I would very much consider picking a different gladiator. So, for instance, I can do Maximus. It's been a while since he's fought. Let's give him another fight, because I want to ensure that we win this one. But notice that the rewards are not as high, because this is not that initial, hey, you're meeting the... Oh, magistrate bonuses to Maximus. Oh, okay, so... Oh, no, this is the name of the magistrate. Is it? I'm a little bit confused. Oh, well. Whatever. So the magistrate is the one that is the host. But in any case, notice that the rewards are not nearly as high as they were before because those first two fights were kind of the tutorials. All right, so, and we can also reject, but what would that do? That would make the magistrate unhappy if we did that. So let's go ahead and accept here. Now, the advantage is here. So we should be above him in everything except for AI skill, which he has quite an advantage in, and defense. But we have the better armor by a significant margin. So let's just see what happens when we do this fight. So we've been able to... Whoa, look at that damage. So for a moment there, he was winning. And I think that's just his better AI is schooling us. We almost have him. We got him, but that was close. And that's why I was nervous, because AI skill is not to be underestimated. It is extremely important to the point that it is probably the best stat in the game. That's why it's pretty good to focus on it, to the point that I'm almost considering that maybe I'm not going hard enough on it. All right, well, in any case, I think this is going to go ahead. I'm going to wrap up the course of the video here. I am going to pay for the healing, though, just to get that out of the way. But I think that we're going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. This is more or less going to wrap up my first impression of the game. As far as what I've seen of the game so far, and this is just coming in with maybe about 3 hours played at this point, I will say that unless you're playing on easier difficulty, this game is extremely difficult. As you saw there, I just barely won that fight, and that was, what, my third fight? And that was with me putting all of my eggs in one basket, putting a lot of my emphasis on one man. Now, at this stage, because he's won victories, he's got quite a high meditate skill. So he's going to be able to match an opponent that has the same kind of AI skill that we saw in that previous fight. Now, some things that also played a part in that fight and why my opponent was so good is because he's unlocked things in his tech tree that I don't have access to yet. That dodge roll that he was doing where he was flipping around the arena, I can't do that yet. That's something I have to unlock through the tech tree. So that's another thing that you kind of have at a disadvantage with, because there's things that you haven't unlocked yet and you don't really know if your opponent has those things or not. So it's kind of weird with this game. It's very difficult. I would say, you know, to get a successful run going, I don't know if I'd say RNG, but it's kind of luck-based in a regard. And you can fail a lot in this game, it seems. Again, even on the easier difficulties. And there are far harder difficulty modes than what I'm playing right now. So that's one thing that I have to say about this game, is I feel like, as much as it might look like a casual game, it clearly is not, because it's very, very difficult. Other things that I would say about it is, and again, I haven't played it a lot. I've seen some variety. We didn't get a chance to see it in here where you have multiple opponents fighting in one match. I had one where it was 5-on-5, but it was like 1-on-1 kind of. So what it was is you have 5 guys and they have 5 guys, and one of your guys comes out and one of their guys comes out and they fight. And when one of the sides has an opponent go down, then that side has another one of their member come in, and you just keep going until all one side has defeated all of the men of the other. So I saw a fight like that. Pretty interesting. I like that little addition. It gives you a reason to have more than one gladiator in your ludus. It gives you a reason to not have all that focus on one gladiator. I saw a match where it was 1-on-1, but there were lions in the arena chained to the sides. I didn't really see that play a part because the match was very quick and the Lions didn't really do anything, but that's something I'd like to see more of. From the experience that I've seen, I haven't seen enough variety in this game, and maybe playing it hours and hours, you'll see that, but I just feel like the really fun moments in this game don't happen frequently enough. And that's kind of disappointing, because there's some events that can happen in this game that I think are really cool and could be really memorable, like You know, remember that time when a lion came in and just ripped my guys apart and it was crazy, you know, and that kind of stuff makes losing men in the gladiator arena fun. But at the same time, with how much buildup you have to put into your men, losing your top guy can be devastating. If I lost Maximus in that last fight, it would have been a blow to me. And that is one of the big problems I see with this game, because I feel like the game just assumes that you're always going to be winning. You're going to win, you're going to win, you're going to win, because the only way that you can actually match the level of your opponent is that you do that you consistently win. Now, maybe there's an element of this game where, you know, you feed them to the lions. You put out guys that have no chance in hell of winning, because you will get rewards even for losing. And you just go out there and you put on a show and you don't worry about those killed. And you just kind of get those guys that you really want to do well. You get them trained. You give them time to train. Maybe, but maybe with more time in the game, I'd get that understanding in it and know what the proper course is to do. But where I'm at in the game, I feel like the right course of action is in the early stages of the game, put all your eggs in one basket and just hope, among all hopes, that he doesn't go down. That the one guy that you put all that money into and all that emphasis in does not go down, because if he goes down, you lose all of this. You lose all of this. You don't get any of it back. So it can be devastating. And that's kind of where I am with the game. I think that it can be fun, but it also has a little bit of frustration in it too. That there seems to be a lot of grind in it. And when you lose one of your top guys, it can be pretty disheartening. But in any case, I think that's my opinion. There was a lot of criticism of this game when it first came out, which is one of the reasons why I'm glad that I had time to wait before playing it, because one of the big complaints is that there was no save feature. So right now, me stopping this recording, I stopped playing, I would lose all the progress I did. Thankfully, after enough complaints, the developers realized, well, that's probably not a good idea. Maybe we should come in and give a save feature. I think they had a misunderstanding with how much time a playthrough of this game cost. I think they were thinking, oh, it takes like 2 to 4 hours to get through a playthrough of this game. And a lot of people were saying, no, that's not really the case. If you really are putting a lot of effort into this game and you're really trying to grind guys up to being really good, you can put a ton of time in this game. And to not be able to stop playing and come back later, not the greatest idea. Thankfully, they fixed that. And I'm hoping that there's other things that I think that through feedback they've improved and made the game a little bit better. In any case, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. This is Mouse Gunner, signing out.